While the force powers of Star Wars are iconic, the system often falls short as a magic system due to a lack of consistency and understanding of what the force was meant to be. This wouldn't be an issue if the writers and game designers who joined the franchise understood what type of fuel the force actually was. This failure to understand is one of the sources for some of the world-building mistakes throughout Star Wars. If you want to avoid making similar mistakes which I'll elaborate on later into the video, listen up as I explain the 4 different sources of magic commonly found in literature and how they can be utilized. Nature, gods and spirits, ethics, and subjective reality. These are the 4 different fields for magic and fiction. Nature can be broken down into sections, external and internal. When external, magic can be explained by using an ambient energy. In this system, magic power comes from an energy field that permeates the universe, such as the concept of mana. Mana may be more abundant in some places and times than in others, and it may have a different aspect or flavor. However, this idea is only necessary if the setting includes scientific laws such as the conservation of energy. If magic can create or destroy energy as required, then an external source is not required. When handling an external magic source, it can help to consider what relationship magic users have with their magic sources. For instance, the core difference between the Sith and the Jedi in Star Wars is the relationship with the Force, their ambient energy. Jedis are servants to the Force and act in alignment with its will, while the Sith treat it as a tool, seeing themselves as masters of its potential that they can do whatever they want with. Understanding this helps make sense of things in story that can easily be misunderstood otherwise, like why the Force cannot be in balance so long as Sith exist. The Sith are essentially harassing the Force, and the Force is asking for help from the Jedi. Or, for another example, there is air in Tales of Vesperia. Air is the substance that fuels Blastia, which is required to cast magic. Its existence is what results in many of the world's oddities. Furthermore, humanity's use of certain Blastia is what causes numerous issues throughout the story. Tales of Vesperia weaves this into the narrative quite well, such as with one character traveling around, destroying Blastia despite the trouble they cause humanity. Places of power are possible when magic is external as well. With these, magical potential may be much stronger in specific locations than they are in other. Sunnydale in Buffy the Vampire Slayer is a good example of this, as it was built over a hellmouth. This makes it a perfect location for various magical entities to try things. Locations can also be created, like the power of a genuine home in the Dresden Files. Alternatively, magic may derive from the magician themselves, fueled by their personal energies or empowered by their will. Magic might represent mental effort, such as willpower controlling the universe, or physical exertion, such as metabolic energy turned into external effects. Some schools of thought don't recognize these distinctions. Nin in Hunter x Hunter works primarily from a mental component, as developing and mastering it requires mental training. The starting point, when not initiated, is in fact meditation. Still, training one's body can help to supplement it. On the opposite end, quirks in My Hero Academia are physical mutations. The story emphasizes at numerous occasions that it is a physical part of oneself, to the point that the protagonist Izuku Midoriya, a boy who was born quirkless and granted powers later in life, struggles early on because he doesn't truly realize that the powers aren't something special that must be turned on and off, but a literal part of who he is physically. If magic uses significant amounts of energy drawn from the caster's person, or represents a serious drain on willpower, then the caster's physical or mental health limits how much they can do. Also, magic users might take power from others voluntarily or generate it through certain acts, which can create an economy around the magic supply. A good economy example is breaths in Warbreaker. Everybody is born with one, but people can trade theirs away or sell them or many other things, if they aren't forcibly taken. When magic is part of nature, it works best when treated as a science. A weird science, but still, a science that is comprehensible and with fixed natural laws. Gods and spirits can work as a magic source as well, as is often the case when magic is negotiation or magic is divine favor. This is a fairly straightforward setup. The magic user provides the figure what they want, and the entity provides what the person needs. To note, gods and spirits might have their own power sources, but the magic user doesn't have to understand that part. It could be useful for you to know still. Also, it is plausible to mix these in with other takes. For instance, in Slayers, Lena Inverse's black magic spells draw their energy from demons. This can lead to scenarios such as spells being lost because a specific demon was destroyed, or a character's signature spell being useless against a specific demon because they are the source of that spell. In some works, ethical categories such as good and evil can be tangible forces that the user draws power from. They could be followers of something, or maybe the act of aligning oneself with something has power in and of itself. For instance, the unforgivable curses in Harry Potter are powered by hatred and a desire to harm, among other things, and cannot work without them. In using these types, there is often a price of some sort for aligning oneself with this. This setup is, for instance, what people mistakenly believe what the Force is, with people drawing on a light side and dark side. As explained before, the Force doesn't work this way, and the distinction came later due to fandom misunderstandings that view it as yin and yang and video games. Still, the misunderstanding can serve as a good example. Good and evil aren't the only options you can work with either. For instance, there's the concepts of order and chaos. Young Justice showcases this well, with how it adapts the Lords of Chaos and Lords of Order. The Lords of Order and Lords of Chaos empower mortal agents to act on their behalf, and they must act in alignment with their principles to receive power. Concepts such as karma can work here as well. So, for a good example of magic functioning with a karmic element, we can look at the show The Librarians. In the episode, and the Rule of Three, the show adapts the threefold law of magic, which is that anything a caster does to any other person, for good or for ill, will eventually return to the user with 3 times the intensity. This has an inherent built-in karmic aspect to magic, and one's ethics when using it. The final source of magic could be reality's own subjectivity, if the world or location is shaped by perception. This approach is often linked to magic as reality shaping. In this form, a properly trained and determined mind can reshape reality. This magic stems from insight and willpower, and makes questions of energy and power sources irrelevant. At best, limited strength of will or imagination can impose constraints that appear like limited energy. So, for example, Persona 5 operates with a subjective reality when the Phantom Thieves of Heart are within the metaverse. Their own powers are a manifestation of their wills, and the locations they visit are shaped by the powerful perceptions of those they target. Furthermore, manipulating these perceptions in the real world is what reshapes the cognitive world, as is often seen when the crew sends their calling cards. At any rate, these are the common sources of magic I've learned that are essential to consider when designing a magic system. I often ask myself the question, what is the source of magic during this stage? As understanding this can impact what I design in the magic system and how it influences the story. If you want to know what the first question is, see this video on concepts of magic. If you wish to learn what the third question I ask is, subscribe to the channel so you know when that video is released.